Hi everyone, Shashank Gupta at iQuanta welcomes you to the classes for CLAT specific, and we are going to talk about the RCs that come across, the previous year RCs, so that it becomes easier for you to understand how they are to be read, what are the kind of questions they would have, the pattern and everything, right? Moreover, you would also learn how to eliminate the options and go across and find the right answer. Very important for you. So keep up with me and let's start. So first thing first, the intentful reading is very important. So the intent has to be there, because if you don't understand what exactly is happening out here, this part automatically does not work for us, right? From a very early age, I knew that when I grew up, I should be a writer. So this must be the author talking about his life. He wanted to be a writer, okay? I had the lonely child's habit of making up stories. So he was a lonely child and he had the habit of making up stories, right? And holding conversations with imaginary persons. So he was talking to imaginary people. And I think from the very start, my literary ambition were mixed up with the feeling of being isolated and undervalued. So his ambition of writing actually came across from being isolated and undervalued, or what he felt actually. I knew that I had a facility with words. Facilities actually come across from a word, facile, which is a French word which means ease, right? So he had an ease with words and a power of facing unpleasant facts, and I felt that this created a sort of private world in which, so he had a private world where he could actually keep everything away and stay in that safe, in which I could get my own back for my failure in everyday life. So whatever failure he was getting in his life, he could actually he could own it back, right? He could support himself, he could motivate himself, everything. I wanted to write enormous naturalistic novels. Naturalistic is something which is happening around, surrounding, right? With unhappy endings, but it would be ending in a sad note, full of detailed descriptions and arresting similes. Arresting similes, which means I'm comparing it to something using like, as, than. And arresting means what out here? Something that is engaging you, right? Something that is attracting you, okay? And also full of purple passages in which words were used partly for the sake of their sound, just for the purpose of writing, right? I give all this background information because I do not think one can assess a writer's motives without knowing something of his early development, right? So we can never assess a writer's motive without knowing something of his early development. How did he come across to this point that he started writing on this particular topic or the theme or an idea, right? So that is why he has given us a whole childhood thought process, from where, why he writes, what he writes, okay? Next part says his subject matter as in how he works, right? What are the subjects, what are the themes that he is going to use, will be determined by the age he lives in, So something where he is, he would start writing on those, he would start working on those, okay? At least this is true in tumultuous revolutionary ages like our own. So if we talk about our ages, it is quite tumultuous. Tumultuous means what? Tumultuous is something which is very raging, something which is chaotic, okay, like our own. But before he ever begins to write, he will have acquired an emotional attitude from which he will never completely escape. So whatever happens throughout this, somewhere in between, what would happen? He would attain an emotional attitude. An attitude would come across in him, and this he will never be able to escape. It is his job to discipline his temperament. So it is his work to discipline his temperament, his mood swings and all that, right? But if he escapes from his early influences altogether, he will have killed his impulse to write. So there are two problems out here. The first thing is he has to live with this because it is going to give him the emotional attitude. And then again, he has to discipline his temperament because he's not actually going to show his own real self to people. He's going to use those topics to create themes, and he's going to use the ideas to tell people about something, but not his real thing, right? I think there are four great, and then again, if he loses this influence altogether, what would happen? he would stop writing altogether. He would lose that impulse. I think there are 4 great motives for writing at any rate of writing prose. They are, so we are talking about the motives of writing. The first one is sheer egoism, desire to seem clever, to be talked about, to be remembered after death, to get your own back on grown-ups who snubbed you in childhood. So if you had a bad childhood, right, you were snubbed by your parents or maybe the society, your elder brother or something like that, so always humiliated, oppressed. In that case, you would be showing your, not your as in, your main thought process would be going about with egoism, right? So you would be creating characters, or you would be creating stories that would be showing how people get back on the others who have actually snubbed them, right? Something like that. Second, aesthetic enthusiasm. What is aesthetic? Desire to share an experience which one feels is valuable and ought not to be missed. So this one is actually talking about that if someone wants to talk about the beauty of nature or something, and he feels that everyone should know about it, okay. Historical impulse is desire to see things as they are, to find out true facts and store them up for the use of posterity. What is posterity? Posterity is basically the future generations. So we are doing things for the future generation where they can actually get to know what happened in the past and stuff. Last is political purpose, desire to push the world in a certain direction, to alter other people's ideas, change their ideas and idea of the kind of society that they should strive after, and the kind of society they should be running after, that is what they should work upon, right? So coming with that, it was actually an easy read. Let's see whether we can do the questions. The first one, for the author, aesthetic enthusiasm is an important motive for writing because is it shapes the thought? No, it does not. We never talked about that. Creates an artistic piece? No, not necessarily. Becomes invaluable? Nah. Is non-utilitarian. What does that mean? It means like he's not working for some kind of utility, some functioning. He's just talking about nature, or he's talking about something, some beauty related thing, right? So it is non-utilitarian, okay, right? And that's why D is the right option. Next, the author strongly advocates the writer to dash what? Avoid any egoistic impression in their work, right? Important part out here is egoistic impression, okay? Next, be apolitical in their approach. This cannot be the right answer because he actually said that that is one of the political purpose. That is one of the major reason that is making him to write. So this cannot be the right answer. Fine. Okay, because it is clearly written out here. I think there are 4 great motives, right? So this is actually a motive. This cannot be the motive. This has to go. See, be contemporary in their treatment of their work. Be contemporary in their treatment of their work? No, not necessarily. He said that yes, he does write as per the age he is in, but then again, the effect is something that come across long ago, right? That's why he became a writer, because he started thinking about what was what and the things that were happening around him that made him to work like this, okay? So again, C part is wrong. D is none of these, okay? Let's see. Avoid any egoistic impression in their work is actually the right one, because it is saying, nowhere in the paragraph, he's saying that avoid the that you have to be egoistic or anything of that sort. Rather, it is actually telling you that you would get those motives and start working on it, not to show your egoistic impression. Fine. We are not going to show the egoistic impression. Rather, we are just using the egoism as what? To be shown as a desire to seem clever and all that stuff. So the word out here, egoistic impression, is the one which helped us, and this became our answer. A part. Next. Which of the following is a synonym for the word tumultuous? It clearly states that vocabulary for us in CLAT papers are important, because you can see they are giving you a direct question. Okay, tumultuous, as I said, chaotic, so it is already there, so you know it. But then again, there is all of these, which means like there is a chance that all of them can be answer. And yes, tumultuous is chaotic, which is turbulent, okay, or something which is disorderly. Yeah, chaotic and disorderly, they were already working. Let's see another thing. There is a hack out here. You already know chaotic is something which is disorderly, and then you have what? Disorderly written out there. So which means A and C are definitely the answer. If A and C the answer and you don't know what is the meaning of turbulent, you can also work out that there is all of the above, which clearly means that by default D has to be the right answer. So therefore D will be the right answer. Understood? So these questions you need to be very, you should be a bit smart when you're trying to find out the right answer. Next one, George Orwell's loneliness during childhood led to dash. Estrangement with his father, not given. Unhappy days, might be. But it is not written that it was, he could actually feel them, right? He could actually face them. So which means we don't have any unhappy days or anything. Making up stories is definitely there. Unpleasant incidents, don't know. C is the right answer, right? Because that was the start of what? Cooking up stories and other stuff, right? So this one is right. Let's move on. Why does Orwell give background information? He had the lonely child's habit? No. It is essential to know about motives of writer? Definitely, because the first paragraph itself was talking about the same thing. Because of his historic impulse? No. Due to aesthetic enthusiasm? No. It was quite an easy question, right? Okay, next. Yeah. If writer escapes from early impulses, he will dash, lose his urge to write. I don't even have to rush here and there because I already know the writer escapes from early impulses. So what happens if he does so? He will lose his urge to write, right? And then of course the rest of them do not work. Let's read though. Be unable to imagine creatively, that is again losing the urge. Be able to converse with imaginary characters, no. Be able to influence others, gone. So the only option that is correct is this one, fine. So as you can see, the question paper, the RCs are actually doable, right? All you have to do is you have to bring across that concentration on that and start working on it, right? Let's move on to the next RC. Yeah. So this one is extracted with edits from Education by Swami Vivekananda, right? It's a good read again, fine. A bit deep, but then again, at plenty of points, what is important is you read the main ideas, you catch hold and you catch on to the main ideas, right? And then accordingly, you can do the questions, okay? Education is not the amount of information that is put into your brain and runs right there. So he's simply saying education is not information, simple as that, right? That is put into your brain and runs right there. Runs right there means like it's almost like it's a chaos out there, tumultuous, right? We just learned that. Undigested all your life. Undigested means it's not getting into your mind at all. It is just roaming around, just like that. We must have life building, man making, character making, assimilation of ideas. So he says like we should have ideas, but then again those ideas would be something to help us build life, right? Which makes us a man, and it makes us what? It helps to create a character, right? Assimilation of ideas. Assimilation is when you are actually absorbing something, right? Okay. Or you are changing yourself accordingly to fit in or something, right? Okay. If education were identical with information, so it is not so because it is written as if it was so, right? If education were identical with information, the libraries are the sages in the world and encyclopedias are the rishis, which means you don't need education anymore. You don't need information because it is all information. So information is everywhere. You can just take out the books, you can read them. They are your gurus, they are the sages, and they are the encyclopedias, are the rishis. Fine. Okay. Getting by heart the thoughts of others in a foreign language and stuffing your brain with them and taking some university degree. Fine. So what are we doing? We are just trying to, getting by heart is like we are just learning them, right? In foreign language and some other person's thoughts, right? And stuffing your brain with them and taking some university degree. Of course, you can see the tone of the author is not very, positive in this. You consider yourself educated. You consider yourself educated. Not, he does not feel so, right? And it is not so. Is this education? What is the goal of your education? So he says, like, why did you get educated in the first place? Open your eyes and see what a piteous cry for food is rising in the land of Bharat, proverbial for its food. Fine. Just think of it, that people are asking for food. There is everywhere, there is a need of food which is not being given across. Fine. In a country which stands for food, that so many types of food are there, right? Will your education fulfill this want? Which actually means that you are fulfilling someone else's want, which means he really wants that, are you going to help the society? Can you actually help the society with the degree and just information that you have with you, right? So this is what it is. We want that education by which character is formed, strength of mind is increased. So what is it that he wants? He wants education which is going to form the character, right? Strengthen the mind. The intellect is expanded. Fine. And by which one can stand on one's own feet. So he can stand on his own feet. Okay. What we need to study independent of foreign control. So what does it mean? It should be independent of foreign control, which means no one should be able to control it. It is your learning. You need to learn on your own, right? Different branches of the knowledge that is our own, and with it the English language and Western science. So he says, not only that, whatever you learn on your own, with that you have to also learn the English language and the Western science. Why is that? We need technical education and all else that will develop industries, so that men, instead of seeking for service, may earn enough. So what is he saying? We need technical education. So when you get those foreign knowledge, what happens out there is you can add it to your own knowledge, and then you can create a bigger base, right? We need technical education and all else that will develop industries, so that men, instead of seeking for service, may earn enough to provide for themselves and save against a rainy day. So that, again, the same thing, they can stand for themselves, right? And they can also earn some money extra for the rainy day, right? The end of all education, all training should be man-making. So he says, like, education, the end result of education, and what else? All kind of training. It should be what? It should be man-making. The end and aim of all training are to make the man grow. And then what is happening? If you are aiming of that, the end of that training are to make the man grow. Two things happening: the making of the man and the growth of the man, right? The training by which the current expression of will are brought under control, fine, and become fruitful. So at the end of the day, he wants that whatever our will is, it is getting what? Current expression of will are brought under control. Fine, you can control your will and become fruitful, and it becomes fruitful, is called education. This finally is education. What our country now wants are muscles of iron and nerves. See, he used muscles of iron and nerves, right? So muscle of irons means what? The iron industry, right? And then again, muscle of nerves, which means the will or something to do with that, right? Of steel, right? So steel industry, iron industry, something like that. Gigantic wills. So huge wills that, yes, I can do this, something like that, right? Which nothing can resist. No one can resist that. Which can penetrate into the mysteries and secrets of the universe and will accomplish their purpose in any fashion, even if it meant going down to the bottom of the ocean, meeting death face to face, which is again talking about all the technology and other stuff. And we are going to the like the direst parts, right? The most difficult of places, and we are getting knowledge from there, or we are getting resources from there, right? There is only one method of attaining knowledge. It is by concentration. So as per Swami Vivekananda, he says that if you want to attain knowledge, you need to concentrate, right? The very essence of education is concentration of mind. From the lowest to the highest man, all have to use the same method to attain knowledge. There is only one way of attaining knowledge, right? Okay. The chemist who works in the lab concentrates on elements to analyze them. Knowledge is acquired by concentration. So finally, he reiterates the same thought process that knowledge is acquired by concentration. Having read, it was like I would say it was a bit wordy, and so you had to read a lot. But then never mind that. Let's move on and let's see what we can do. According to the author, we need to study dash. What is it? English language? Is it technical education, or is it Western science? Definitely it is D, because he said we should study English, we should study technology, we should study about Western science, right? So it is all of the above. So you can see, like, when we read with intent and of course concentration, right, what really happens is that you can actually do major portion of the questions and you do not have to regress for them, which is the biggest problem, because every time you read a question and you have to go back to the passage, you are actually wasting time on that. So you can save yourself that part when you have read it with intent, right? Okay. According to the author, which among the following is key to attain knowledge? Is it university degrees, library, concentration of mind, hard work, and sports training? Of course, definitely it is concentration, which the last paragraph has repeatedly told us that it has to be concentration, right? Next, let's move on. Which of the following words is related to the word assimilation? Assimilation, what does it mean? Assimilation, as I said, something we are absorbing with us. So whatever we absorb, it becomes a part of us, which means it is integration, right? Also, I said it actually goes about and talks about something where we are doing something to do with, we are adjusting ourselves accordingly, right? So that's why adjustment. And acclimatization means the same thing. So therefore, the answer has to be all of the above. Fine, easy as it is. And we saw that yet there was another vocabulary question, okay? So let's see what happens out here. Education as described by the author means information, library, or degrees. Of course, we know that he never meant this as the it is not describing education at all. Fine, so therefore none of the above. As per the author, the aim of education should be to help a person build his or her character. Yeah, that was there. To help a person earn his or her livelihood. Yes, it is there. To help a person develop his or her intellect. Which one is it? Of course, it has to be all of them, because that's what he wanted from us. So A is the right answer. Last, according to the author, the country wants massive willpower, gigantic willpower, right? Will, it's there. Spirit of philanthropy, yes, of course, it was like, will we be able to fulfill this want, which means he wants us to be philanthropic. He wants us to help others, right? Be charitable. So it is there. Iron and steel industries, that was what was there. Muscles of iron and nerves of steel, right? So that is iron and steel industries. So it is again all of the above, right? So it was a nice practice session we had. I'll come across with more of them. Fine, stay tuned with us, and you can always join us on iQuanta CLAT, and you can keep on practicing these questions with us. Fine. Meet you in the next class. Till then, take care.